afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to this week's episode of the Entrepreneur's Journey. And this is JBDC speaker on a prominent local entrepreneur who we invite to share their story with us so that we can learn, so that we can be inspired, and so that we can basically see ourselves and also get to interrogate um, the process of getting to a place of um, recognition or success in the Jamaican landscape as an entrepreneur. And this week, I am proud to have with me a name that should be quite easily recognized because this business is named after the entrepreneur and also has been established around for a long time. And the person I'm referring to is Kirk Crichton, businessman and owner of the popular car dealership Crichton Automotive. Good afternoon and welcome, Kirk.
Thanks for having me.
How are you today?
I'm fine, all considered, all the challenges.
Yes, what kind of challenges you're referring to now?
I don't have COVID, so that's pretty good. After a good start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so we invited you today because we know you have a very interesting story to tell, and I don't think that the Jamaican public at large has had an opportunity to hear it. So let us start close, not all the way back to the beginning, but close enough to the beginning, and that is, tell us how it is that you got started. What was the first entrepreneurial venture that you got into before crime became a thing? First thing.
Well, I started off trading dollars, trading foreign exchange in Montego Bay when I was about 19, 20. I had a number of friends who worked in the banks that we used to purchase foreign exchange and send it back to the Cambians. After the Bush Stewart initiative came in, that pretty much fell apart. So we went into stereo equipment. And this is when I was on campus. I was at UWI campus. We started importing stereo equipment, selling it to people on campus, and fax machines, cell phones, whatever we could get our hands on. But what happened was that at the end of the day, we ended up with this long list of receivables because we were selling to primarily people who were also on campus. And I guess maybe the cash flow wasn't there. So we decided one day that instead of running down 30 people to try and collect, well, let's pull all the funds together and try and buy one car. And at the time, the government of the day had just opened up the used car dealer market. And they were allowing us to import, every person could import 2 vehicles every 3 years. And we used this opportunity to go overseas, bring in one car, sold it, and we just grew from there.
Okay. So the Forex trading and the appliance selling, what was the motivation behind that? What was it that you were just following a model? Did you see anybody in your family just having an enterprising approach to life, or that was just intrinsic from you?
Actually, with Forex trading, my younger brother, who was about 18 at the time, he started it first. And I pretty much followed him. And then after that, he actually started the car business first. And I followed him also. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you guys weren't modeling a parent or any family member before that. You guys just had this.
Let me explain that part. The family, we grew up in a business family, right? So business was always being discussed. So much so that it became like the order of the day. We didn't know any other way,
What kind of business your family did?
My father had a factory in Montego Bay that did school furniture, that did chemicals, primarily to schools and hotels. We had 2 gas stations also in Montego Bay. So we grew up in business. So this is pretty much all we discussed. So going into business was like, it was a big thing. It was like expected, you know. It doesn't matter if, it's matter when.
All right. So, so you said that you're originally from Montego Bay, from St. James, right? And you came in, and you came into Kingston to go to university. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What you went to university to study?
Well, I tried 1 year at natural sciences, but it didn't work out. It was not. It didn't work out. So I took a year off from school, and then I came back into social sciences, which is a business faculty, and we just started from there. You know.
So you was thinking of becoming a doctor at first, and then you said that now work out.
Yeah. No, my father was saying, you know, my father has 9 kids, so he was saying that this one of you have to be a doctor.
Yeah,
you know, a fleeting thought. Just try it. Yeah, it never work out. Yeah. Doctors have to work too hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
has to be a calling. That definitely has to be a calling, right?
That, and I didn't like injections.
Oh yeah, you have a problem. Yeah. Oh, there's mainly the nurses that do that. But tell us though, how did you know? Is that you that the beginnings of Crichton emerged? Tell us how that story unfolded.
All right. When we were on campus, you had a number of people who were fellow entrepreneurs on campus who were all starting their own business. You had the gentleman from New Line Motors was starting a dealership. Alex gentleman from Montego Bay started his dealership. So you had about 4 or 5 people I knew on campus that were actually importing cars once the government had opened the policy. And we started and we saw the potential for the market to grow. And it was relatively easy. I mean, think about it. I get up, go to school, drive a car to school, sell the car. That's it, you know. And I mean, and this is at 21 years old, 22 years old. I don't use all this money. I mean, it was just very easy, very, very easy.
So tell me something. The driver wasn't to help make money to pay for your school fees. It was just, oh, I can make some money, yay, and burn it or save it or whatever.
I get joke with that. I remember applying for student loan, right? And when the student loan money came through, I used it and clear a car off the wharf. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, one day I actually asked my mother. I can confess now because I paid off the loan already. Student loan people won't know this, but I actually asked my mother once that, you know, if she didn't notice that once I went into second year at UA, I stopped calling her for money. She said she noticed and she trusts me. So, you know.
Yeah. So you made yourself independent after your first year.
After first year at UA, yeah. I tell you something, you know, it was the money, but what happened because I had to sit out a year at UA. By the time I actually started the business faculty, the kids who were in high school with me were actually graduating. So I had to kind of run and catch up. And going into business early kind of helped me do that.
Oh, tell me. How?
Well, I had to, when I came, I tried my hand at natural sciences. That didn't work out. UA said I had to sit out a year. So by the time I actually got settled in just the first year of social sciences, all the other kids were graduating and looking for jobs. You know, and you felt a sense that you got left behind. So I had to do what you have to. Yeah, pull up your socks.
Okay, so was it in your intention to, when you started at that time, maybe it was to just earn some money so you could pay your way through university and have that independence? Was there a vision?
No, it wasn't.
What were you thinking? And when did it start to change?
No, aiming too low. No, at the time the aim was always to build something.
Okay.
No, it was
so you
about
knew.
The money. It was about the money. It was more about building something. You see, what happened is that I don't know how much of you guys are from Outer Kingston, but when I came here, you felt a little, you know, I'll choose my words carefully. I felt a little intimidated by the people here. So on campus, nobody knows you. So you kind of want to make a name. And the business had to do that. I couldn't play football. Business was the next option.
Okay, so give me the figure. So that's still part of your personal vision. I want to know when it began to shift from, okay, I'm doing this now, I'm a student. What is the plan in terms of the way that I'm going to live my life, and the way that I'm going to earn my way and make myself as a man? When did that thinking come in to your, or did it ever consciously occur? And I want to just hear you unravel for us how you got from just the 1-2 cars into this business. You've lasted, like, you were one of the first ones to start a car dealership.
A lot of the dealerships that started initially have closed down.
Exactly, and you have persisted. So I want to know how you have, you know, what is the secret behind that?
I'd love to be able to tell you that there was some fantastic thought that went into all this, but it wasn't. To be honest with you, what it was is that we started off 2 cars, and we said, okay, let's try and build something. Let's build something here, because we saw the potential. You know, so we start bringing in different cars. The next thing you know, we have 10. You know, and it literally grew from the demand in the market. It wasn't something that we sat and planned. We didn't have a 1-year plan. I'll be honest with you. I did not have a 1-year plan. It was just growing, and we're just flying by the seat of your pants.
How many years now have you been, has Crichton been established?
24.
24 years.
This month, 24 years.
Okay. When are you registered as a limited liability, right?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Okay. When did you register as a limited liability?
1996. When I was still, I think I just finished campus. Because even so, the business took off while I was on campus, to the point where I never finished. I technically don't have a degree.
Okay. So you're saying the business demanded your full-time attention, and you decided to give it that before you even finished?
I tried, honestly, I tried evening classes, but as I was falling asleep in the classes, I figured, you know, I tell you something, what I learned in the first 2 years of UA with marketing, and when I took the year off from school, I got a job at Price Waterhouse. What I learned at Price Waterhouse and the 2 years at UA, I still apply to this day. The marketing and the accounting. Accounting is like a basic fundamental that anybody who's going into business now, they need to know a little of both. Okay.
So for you, education is more about what? Apart from perspective, since the degree, you never got the degree. But the education for you was definitely just for your practical application.
The practical application. As a matter of fact, what I find happening now is that I'm back in school now.
Tell me about that.
I a few years ago, I bought into an insurance agency. My parents had that they had planned to close down. It was a one-shop operation in Montego Bay. I bought into it and we expanded it right across the island. And I realized that in expanding it, that if I didn't learn the business properly, there are mistakes that could be made. And as such, I went back to school, and I'm currently doing a diploma in insurance.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. So that's another level of investment. All right. I'm going to pass on your business. I hear about this man named Mr. Thompson. Oh, and that he was integral. Yes, I'm going there. He was really? Integral. Yes, he was integral into the beginning stages and even up to now. Right. So tell me, how did that man come into your life?
All right.
What role?
When we just started, when we just formed the company, we started interviewing. We looked for a bearer, a sales rep, and a mechanic, I believe. And one of the applicants was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Gilbert Thompson. But Mr. Thompson was close to my father's age. And at 26 years old, you're interviewing somebody in the 50s. It's a little intimidating, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't make him say that. And we went through the interview process, and we were a little concerned that maybe he couldn't handle the rigors of sales, being outside all the time. But he promised us that he could manage it. I would say, okay, let's give him a chance. And the relationship with Mr. Thompson, I believe, is like somebody sent him to watch over me for the time I was in business. You know, we went through some challenging times, and never once did Mr. Thompson walk away or never did his faith in our ability to turn around the company ever falter. And I have all respect for that man.
Okay, so did he play like a mentor role of sorts, or it was just his dedication and his loyalty that has made him special?
He played a mentorship role, but you see, at 26, 27, 28 years old, it was more, we argued a lot. He pitched his ideas, I pitched mine, and we went back and forth at it because, you know, Mr. Thompson to me had a lot of old school ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that he stood there, he pitched his ideas, we argued it, you know, and at the end of the day, whatever the best decision was at the time, is the fact that you had somebody around you that you could sit and discuss these ideas with. Because this is one of the challenges a lot of business people don't have. You know, you go out into business, especially if no other member of your family was ever in business before. You go into the business and you have nobody to sit down and discuss an idea with. You say, what do you think of this? Can this work? Can it not work? Because sometimes, you know, you don't have to go there and lose to learn a lesson. Sometimes you can learn a lesson from other people. And Mr. Thompson provided that guidance to me.
You were saying to me briefly yesterday, we never really got into it, that how you got the lot with the first lot was almost like it was just fate helping you along. And I want you to tell me about that. Tell us about that.
It's not some art. When we started off, we rented a place on Sackstop Avenue. Like I said, I was in school at the time. I didn't understand the security issues in the area because I'm from Montego Bay. I remember first I would park a few cars inside there. Somebody jumped the fence at night, stole out a number of items off the cars, you know. We had to put in security. Like I said, the whole issue of starting off and learning the challenges going forward. Like I said, at the time, I got advice from your parents, but for the most part, you're essentially flying by the seat of your pants, and you make your mistakes and you grow as you go along. We went on, we moved from there to a massive location on Constant Spring Road, where the company really got more recognition. We stayed there for about a year and a half, and then that was a period in which I had a business partner at the time. I was just learning business. I made a lot of mistakes. Luckily, we caught out of the mistakes not too far out in the game, but we had to eventually move and essentially restart. And this is when we went on the Hagley Park Road. And Hagley Park has been the home ever since.
You mentioned some challenges, but you haven't really told us anything specific about some of those challenges. There was a time, what is the most difficult time that you've had since operating this business? And I said the most difficult is meaning it may have tested your desire or your decision to remain in business maybe, or it just was pivotal in some way.
We have had a number of challenges and global challenges. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the challenge we're facing right now is probably the greatest challenge the company has ever been through. Our sales have cut more than 50%. You know, we have between the road construction at Hagley Park for the last 2 years, and then running from the road construction straight to COVID-19, we have been, we have taken some hits. We've been taking hits for the last 3 years. You know, we had anticipated that after the road construction, we're going to see a boom in business, but that never materialized. And then within 2 or 3 months, straight to COVID-19. So I mean, I think we're facing challenges that a lot of other business people are facing. And you have to look at the operation and see how best you can.
How are you dealing with it? How are you dealing with that now?
Well, all right. One of the first things we had to do was to look at our income and try and get your expenses as close to your income as possible. You're not making a profit, but you're trying to mitigate your losses. And one of the things we had to do, unfortunately, was you have to look at all your expenses and trim as much as you can. And also, that includes salaries, everything. You have to get really inventive. However, it has been unfortunate because we have had to, like a number of other companies, had to cut staff and just, go down to a bare minimum.
What was the size of your team before you had to cut?
We were at one point we were up to about 25 staff. Now we're probably down to about 17.
And what is your outlook for the future? I mean, we're still in it, but what's your outlook for the future?
Well, the government is supposed to open the airports to tourists this weekend. I've seen growth potential. I've seen business picking back up since April for the insurance arm of the business, but for the automotive, it's been just flat. I believe that right now the automotive, the used car market is oversaturated, and the returns on investment is just not what it used to be. Yeah. And I think if you speak to any car dealer, they'll tell you the same thing.
Has that caused you to think about the future of that section of the business and maybe consider pivoting from the way you conducted it?
It's not so much diverted from the way you conducted. One of the things we looked at is to reduce the stock, reduce the size of the operation, and curtail the cost. You know, there's no other option unless the government is going to come in with some kind of policy to assist. But right now, if you look around you, everywhere you turn is a car dealership. And what is happening is that a lot of these people are not, the government puts certain certifications in place. I must have certain requirements. I must provide warranty. I must provide after-sales service, all kind of stuff. But then a lot of the other these companies popping up around the place don't have to provide any of that kind of stuff. So because of that, they can operate at a lower cost than we can. And as such, the entire industry is under pressure. And I think if you speak to any used car dealer, they'll tell you the same thing. It has been very challenging, very, very challenging until the government comes with some kind of policy to cut down on the amount of dealerships that you have. You're going to have a number of players coming out of the market. Because the thing is that one of the things about being in business is that as old as a company is, you can't be sentimental about this thing. You have to look at it and be practical. You have to look at options on the table. You know, one of the things about this particular business is that it requires land. So land means rent, high rent, location. You have staffing. You have infrastructure work to put in place. So the startup cost is very high. So when you look at other businesses, sometimes there are options on the table that are more feasible. Yeah.
I know you're not saying it directly, but I'm getting from what you're saying that you are seriously considering, without the sentiment, the future of this industry because of what's happening. Not just the industry, not because of what's happening in the industry, you're seriously considering the future of that segment of your business portfolio, the automotive side.
No,
Safe to say?
absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
I mean, the thing is, you know, is that, like I say, what is required to operate the business is such that there are so much other businesses you go into that don't require level of capital or space or land, or, you know, and so because of that, it's definitely something to sit and think about. And
You know, I
sorry, cut you a second, but you know, sometimes anybody who's going into business now, that's something they have to learn. And sometimes you have to look at that and say, you know, is this the best option?
mhm.
Yeah.
I am so grateful for you raising that point right now because it is something that a lot of people who are in business at various levels and at different industries, especially like maybe for the tourism sector, businesses that are heavily reliant and have been heavily reliant on tourism to be sustained. You really have to, they have to be looking now at, am I going to be able to continue this? And if not, um, it's almost as if you have to ask yourself, do I give up? But I don't hear that in your tone. I don't hear that in what you have said. What you're saying is, yes, this is the thing that you have built. You have had it and you've taken it for however long you've had it. Maybe in your case, 24 years. But if the practical decision is that you have to shift from it, you have to consider that and look at how it is that you can continue your entrepreneurial journey in another way. Because it doesn't mean sometimes I'm saying it because some people might think that when they have to stop close a business or if they have to stop doing one thing that it means that they're quitting, you know. And I just want them to know that that's not what it is. If you have to make a decision, you have to make a decision. But journey doesn't stop.
The thing about it is that there are a number of other businesses that I've tried that government policy may have changed. We had to come out of it. I used to import cell phones from the States. Government policy changed. I came out of it. I used to import used air conditioning units from Japan, and that didn't work out. You know, so some things work for a while, but like I said, with this particular industry, we have invested a lot. But unless the government comes up with some kind of policies to restrict the amount of dealerships out there, it just doesn't make any sense to continue it. You know, that is one. And two, the government does have a government can restrict industry. I don't think they have any intentions of restricting industry. But on the other hand, I mean, it's just a lot of these people are out there operating the dealerships. I don't know how they stay in terms of paying taxes. I don't know in terms of warranty. It's going to be to a disadvantage to the consumer at the end of the day. They have no guide. They operate under no guidelines whatsoever. And the average customer who walks in there doesn't know this until something happens.
You've been speaking about the environment, the environmental factor for this industry a lot, which is it's the government policies affect this business significantly. Not every business is like is as vulnerable to policies that are made, but this one is. As a result, you've been in the business so long. Have you taken any kind of role, any kind of voice for that industry, like the automotive sector? Have you, the car dealers, car sales sector, have you taken on any role that would help to represent in a representational way? What have you done, or have you done anything to
Well,
influence things?
well, I didn't hear you I didn't hear you properly, but the used car dealers does have a association, umbrella association, you know, that goes out and pitch ideas to government in terms of ways to make the industry a little better.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think right now the government may be a little overwhelmed because you have so much pressure coming from other industries. I recently spoke to a friend of mine that owns one of the largest ground transportation companies in Jamaica. And he said to me that after March, his business came to a full, complete stop. Everything stopped. I was telling him how my sales fell by 50%. he was telling me that he would kill to get 50% right now. He said all his buses are parked, and he has to be paying staff nonetheless. You know, so I guess you have a lot more players in other industries that are feeling even worse than we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I was asking if you had taken on any of the championing role in a voice in having a voice with the government as it relates to the policy, because you've been mentioning that they would need to intervene.
No, what we do is we do all that through the industry. You don't, one thing you don't want is to have different people pitching ideas. So, you know, you need to have one solid voice going forward.
So you are a part of that?
Yes, we are.
An active part. Okay.
Active part of that.
Okay. In what ways because you're a from the sounds of things, you're a serial entrepreneur. In what way do you define success for you?
Success for me, there's going to be a point in any entrepreneur's life where it's not about the money anymore, it's about building something. It's about leaving a legacy or leaving something for your children. Since I've been in Kingston, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of people at different levels of society. And one of the things you realize is that prudent decisions made by a grandfather or a father can propel a family into wealth that even grandchildren can spend, you know. So my aim is really to try and build something where I can assist my family to grow. You think in 20, 30, 40 years down the road.
And I'm assuming you mentioned legacy, leaving something for your own children. How is it that you're preparing them to receive the legacy?
Well, what you do is you try and do the same thing that my father did. Where we sit and speak about business all the time, you know. And by doing so, without even you realizing, you are being prepared for it. It's just that you don't sit there and say, hey, I'm going to prepare for business. But by just talking to you every day, after a while, I never thought, I'll be honest with you, I never thought of doing anything else than business. It just came naturally. You know, it's like playing the piano. You just get up and do it. As a matter of fact, when people tell me that they don't understand, I find it hard to believe.
What kind of lessons have you taught them through your business conversations, your business talks with them?
That's the thing, you know, you see, it's not that we sit and teach them. We don't sit and teach a lesson about this or a lesson about that. You just talk every day.
Yeah, I know, by the way, but I know you. And I meant when you look back at the conversations that you had, are your children grown? Are they grown children, or are they still in school and so on?
Still early teenager.
Early teenagers, okay.
Yeah.
So I know that sometimes, you know, you will have a moment to reflect on. Perhaps you might be able to answer it in your own position, from your own perspective better. What has your entrepreneurial journey taught you? What lessons have your entrepreneurial journey taught you?
Me? That's a tough question. It's a really tough question. So it requires some thought. What has it taught me?
Yeah.
Man, I guess you learn some challenges. You know, you can't back down. You know, you have to just keep pushing with each one of them. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you lose. But at the end of the day, you just need to you need to make calculated decisions based on the information presented to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to learn to do that quickly. And you just, knowledge is power. You know, you just keep asking and talking, and people keep educating you. You'll be surprised they get ideas from all over the place. Yeah.
So having an open mind and looking to receive from all sources in terms of knowledge is something that you live by.
Especially the open mind. You know, when I was on campus, we had 4 of us that used to go to pretty much have the same classes. I was selling cars. One guy was working at a bank. One guy was selling pantyhose. One guy was selling cell phones. So the thing is, keep an open mind. I mean, you thinking of a man selling pantyhose would not be something that most men would consider as a earning option. But when he sat and showed me how he did it, it was a no-brainer.
Why did he choose pantyhose though? Because it is kind of odd for a gentleman to be selling.
That's
Why
the
did
thing.
you sell
What
it?
happened is his girlfriend was working in the bank, and apparently they're required
Yeah,
to wear pantyhose every day.
yeah.
And what happened is that he kept going to purchase pantyhose. What you do is go there, and you trust they pay the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's
Kept the audience.
opportunity,
Yeah.
opportunity, looking for opportunity constantly. So if one of your kids came to had a conversation with you and said that but they don't want to own a business, they don't want to operate any business, they want to become a teacher or they want to become a doctor like you were trying to do. What if both of them expressed that didn't show any interest in having a business of their own? How would you feel about that, and what would you say to them?
Some it at the end of the day encourage them to pursue whatever dream they want to. But one important thing, is that, like I said, the decisions taken by the father, the grandfather, or the grandparents can play a large influence on the child now, because I've met a number of people that the father or the grandfather bought land or they did some business that at the end of the day, the child now has a property worth millions of dollars because of a property that grandfather had bought and left for them, and just having a property like that can allow them to try to pursue any kind of dream they want to pursue because of that kind of financial backing. Because some foreparent had the foresight to say, hey, let us make an investment and we pay rewards down the road. I met somebody the other day that his father, the father built a property in Kingston, and he died, he's since passed on, but the children live off the rent. So because of that, the children pursue whatever they want, because there's not a certain amount of money is coming in because of the investment made by the father before. And this is why I say I want to leave some kind of legacy. Yeah.
So you would still try to influence their preference or decision by showing them what the benefits are and the advantages are of taking this path while still encouraging them to pursue their own dreams, which is fair. It's fair.
And the thing is, you're not even selling them, you're not even selling them the idea, you just talk about it every day.
You're showing.
They become part of conversations. Yeah. But if they want to teach. I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't teach, but honestly, I don't have the patience.
Okay. What has been the hardest lesson for you to learn? Because you talked about having challenges and
in business.
Learning how. Yeah. What has been the hardest lesson for you to learn?
GCT. Don't any further. GCT. Taxation system in Jamaica is such that, let me tell you something. 2 years after starting the business, we got audited by the GCT. All right? 2 years. Remember, the company is 24 years old. 2 years after we started, we got audited by the GCT.
Why?
Taxes, I was 26 years old. I never had anybody to sit and tell me about the importance of making sure our tax records are done properly and proper accounting.
So they were a mess.
I would say a mess, but they weren't in the best way they should have been. Right? That our 2 years after we started the company was not regularized until about 3 years ago.
Wow.
18 years.
Why that took you so long to learn, Joker?
No, it's a very weird GCT structure anyway. So if you don't pay GCT on time or you don't pay the correct amount, the interest is like all interest.
I know that interest is a lot, but you probably would have picked that up from the first time you pay the heftiest fine, the big fine that come with it. And you don't have I'm sure you have an accountant.
That's the thing too. You see, when you're just starting off, nobody sits with you and explain to you. So you need to have first of all, you need to have a proper receipt book. You need to have a proper. Don't pay for things with cash, and it's a small items. Have a checking account and you pay for stuff. We have a record of certain things being done. You know, cash comes in, you spend cash, I have no records at the end of the day. I tell you, if nobody sat with you explain these basic business principles to you, it might start small, but by the time a problem arises, it's really bad. It's really bad.
Wow.
You know?
And you know, you're keeping it very real with with this conversation, you know, because even with the degrees, as from the experience with dealing with persons here at JBDC, even with the doctors and people who are professional with their accreditations and so on, laws and whatever, they don't think in a business sense, they don't think about all the obligations that come with running a business sometimes because they're just in the seed, in the core part of running the business, of it operating and making it go. But the supporting things and the administrative things sometimes get overlooked and they can come to bite you. So we take the point that is something that you have to pay attention to.
But well, there's a point I want to make too. One, you mentioned doctors a while ago. What I find with other professionals is that you go to school and they're taught medicine, or they're taught law, or taught to fix air condition units, whatever it is. But nobody teaches them the business of it. You know? So you find a lot of people come out. I've known a number of medical practitioners that have gone into business and had to close it down. You know? They don't. You ask the average doctor who goes out and says, "Well, I want to start my own practice." They have no idea what to charge. They have no idea about the taxes. You know, I don't know if the medical association provides something to say, "Look, we're going to start your own practice. These are the things that you need to do." Most associations don't do it, so then everybody goes out and try a thing, and this shouldn't be the case. They should be taught about.
You're so right.
Some basics.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we exist at JBDC to provide that support. I'm seeing in the chat, yes, somebody's agreeing with you, saying that I think it's from Melting Pot that these things need to be taught in school. It's true, and I just want to plug that one of the ways that we have established a relationship with Mr. Crichton is that we have a program that is taught. We lecture, meaning JBDC actually is involved in the entrepreneurial courses at the university, at management studies. We have, I think, 3 or 4 courses that we have helped to design, and we also teach. And they're all geared towards entrepreneurship, innovation, and strategy. And these things are taught. So we invite real business people, we invite real administrative support professionals like accountants, bring people from tax and so on, and we teach these things. It's being done at the university, and it probably should be done earlier than that. But it's getting there, and we also provide that support here at JBDC. So thanks for that comment. And reminder, you can throw your comments into the chat or your questions into the chat for persons who are in on this live with us.
Along the same point that you made, sorry, along the same point that you made, right? I remember talking to my 13-year-old niece in South Florida, and she was showing me a course that she was doing at 13 years old, where it shows them how to set up a business from scratch. The thing is, this thing has to be taught from high school. A child shouldn't graduate from high school and don't know how to open a bank account. You don't know how does it get a mortgage, you know, how does that, little basic things that they need to know, business-wise.
Real life skills and shifting the culture from going to work. Shifting that culture from going to work, pardon me, and instead to, okay, into enterprise, how do I set up my own business and have autonomy? Because that's where we need to go, definitely. And if we're going to shift from poverty consciousness to wealth consciousness.
No, think about it. At 14 years old, did you know how to open a bank account? You didn't.
I don't think I was even thinking about that. Yeah. I don't. Wait a minute, it's lie.
Even a savings account.
Victoria Mutual, in primary school, Victoria Mutual came, we used to come around and open up, give us the little thing now, we sign up. Yes, the savings account. That was my first account. I haven't thought about that.
But the school should be inviting them in to do this.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do it, but that used to happen when I used to go to primary school. um, yeah, so having having a more practical approach to education, I agree with you, is definitely something that is already being addressed. The awareness is there, and we just want to see more of it, rolling out as we continue with the future generation. All right. What do you think, Kirk, is or are some of the most important traits that an entrepreneur in today's world needs to have?
Most important, well, I don't think I have a most important trait. It's like a number of traits. One of them is,
Yeah, man.
I would say every entrepreneur, it doesn't matter if you're going to go into services, whatever it is, you need to have an idea beforehand of what it is that you're doing. Try to get as much information as possible. So when you jump into it, you are knowledgeable about the field to some extent. You're not going to know everything, but you need to. If you're going to set up if you're going to service generators, right? You need to know how to service a generator, because if you don't, if you hire people and rely on them to tell you what to do or to guide you, you might have a problem. You need to have some knowledge about what it is that you're doing, because you find that if you hire people and they realize that you do not know, you could get taken advantage of. That to me would be like
Not
number one
having
thing.
knowledge.
You have
Yeah,
to.
not having knowledge can be expensive.
Like I can't cook, right? If I was going to a restaurant business, I would need to learn to cook. Or don't
Which is
wait.
why you're learning insurance now.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, and that's like I keep thinking, because it just doesn't, to me. You don't want to go into something and then if a crisis arises, you cannot help yourself. You rely on somebody else to come in and assist.
So knowledge is one. What other traits would you say is
All right.
important?
Next thing is you have a basic idea of learning accounts. And by learning accounts, I said to you that any decent accountant can guide you as to basic things that you need to do. You need to know, you need to have a checkbook, pay your bills through your checkbook, so you have a record of everything. Whatever you collect, lodge it, so you have a record of all the lodgements. Don't get paid and then spend the cash, and lodge it, so you have a record of what you spend, what you earn. Now the importance of that is that down the road, the business has to expand, and you want to get a loan to buy a car, you want to buy an office, whatever it is you're going to get a loan for. First thing banks going to ask you, income and expenditure statement. You having a bank account, lodging all your lodgements, lodging all the income, and having a checkbook that you record all your payments. This in itself can give you an income expenditure account. But a lot of people I find they go in and they start using cash because it's easier. And because of that, when the opportunity comes for them to buy a car and the bank asks for certain documents, they can't produce it. And it becomes a problem. So up front, from day one, get a checking account and lodge all your earnings. And don't worry about the taxman. The taxman won't have access to your bank account, But it does make life easier. And that's the next thing. It's something as basic as that. Nobody told you that when you're starting off. Nobody told you that. It's only when time comes to buy a car, I say, hey, can I get this loan? And people say, how much money do you earn? I can't tell you, because after my earnings, I did not lodge it. I put it in my pocket. How much money do you spend? I can't tell you. I spend cash. Yeah.
Okay. Just giving you some other feedback from Instagram here. They're saying entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Sash Tafari is saying it's not for everyone. However, children should be taught practical skills that they can apply in their day-to-day lives. Yes, I get that. And this thing is that I have a battery, so I'm gonna switch. Tell me if you're still hearing me.
I can hear you.
Yes? Okay. I'm not hearing you. I had to switch from my headphones because the battery died. Say something again so I can see if I'm hearing.
I can hear you.
Mm, no,
No?
I've lost you. Okay, you're back. Great. And then somebody else is saying that entrepreneurs frame it JA saying entrepreneurship classes should be fun and interesting and not stressful. Yeah, I don't know if the SBAs are fun or if they're stressful, but I know it's already being done in high school. All right, so we have your bit of advice about what you think an entrepreneur needs to have. They need to be knowledgeable about what they're doing, and they need to make sure that they know have some basic bookkeeping skills or awareness on how to manage money and manage their record keeping because it's critical.
Just manage the record keeping. You get an accountant to do the
Man,
bookkeeping part. Just lodge
yeah,
lodge your earnings and use a checkbook for all your payments.
okay.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes before we wrap up. So I'm going to invite persons who are in the Zoom room to throw in any questions that you have and persons who are watching via Instagram or I don't know if we're on Facebook to send in your questions and your comments while we have Kirk here for the next 6 or 7 minutes. As we wrap up, I'll get to them as we are winding down. Okay. And in the Zoom room, you can also raise your hand, and if you want to actually ask a question, I can unmute so we can do that as well. All right. So I want to know, what do you do? You speak about legacy and so on, and you mentioned your family, but how do you look at your role as an entrepreneur in the community, in the wider community? What role do you see yourself and maybe even as if other entrepreneurs, not just you, but you can tell me about you too. What role do you think entrepreneurs should play in the community?
I tell you something. The just doing business on a day-to-day basis. Every time, every morning we open, we have to we go purchase parts, we purchase various services. You have your staff, and you see the effect that it has in the immediate community in terms of money being spent, even for the staff to buy lunch. So the juicy beef around the corner is earning because of you. The parts places in the area, the various contractors earn because of you. So there is a ripple effect right across the entire community for every business that is open. So it's a good thing, but I want to divert for a second and point out something else. You see, what you said about the bank account and the checkbook, there's an extension. You see, when you start your business, you see uniforms, you might think not much of it. Wear a uniform and put a company name on it. Even if the company you don't register as yet, one of the things it does is that the uniform is more than just a uniform, it's advertising. And a lot of people don't realize it. And then what happens is I find a lot of, especially contractors, they come just to work with you and they have on any kind of clothes, right? So people will walk in and have no idea what this person does. You need to ensure you have a uniform with a clearly named company name on it. And the company name must be able to identify what it is that you do. So when somebody see you, they must look at your uniform and tell. You know, you can't move here and just put on clothes of your house and every day that's a different thing. And not only that, what it also does is that it saves you a lot of money, or your potential staff a lot of money. Because instead of wearing the personal clothes, you find that if you're wearing the uniform Monday to Friday, a lot of the personal clothes they probably won't even need.
That's an interesting tip.
So the savings is good advertising for you. The customer knows what it is that you do. I can clearly identify your staff members, and also is a massive savings in terms of the staff buying clothes to wear to work.
Yeah, that's an interesting tip. It is the freest and probably the most active form of advertising and promotion that you can do for your business when you have branded apparel that you wear because you're a walking billboard.
Exactly. I know that your shirt you have on right now is branded. I just don't see it. Right,
Well, I'm hiding it because it's not really branded, but I do wear my pin. So we have branded stuff, but when I'm wearing clothes that's not branded directly, I wear my pin. I don't know if you can see. You see my pin there? Yes.
Yes, we can see that.
It's tiny, but it's there. Okay, so Dale is asking, how do you guard against people stealing your business idea when seeking business know-how? Okay.
All right. One of the mistakes a lot of people make, right, is that you come up with this idea. It's a great idea. And you're proud of yourself. And you want to tell everybody about it. Don't. If you're going to tell the business idea to anybody, tell it to somebody who can assist you. The person can't assist you, keep it to yourself. Because I had an incident once where there's a property in Hagley Park where I came for sale. And I got a good deal at the property. I left the guy's office to go make arrangements with the bank, stopped somewhere and mentioned it to somebody. And the person went behind my back. I went back to the person, offered him more money for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it can happen. So it
That was a painful lesson.
Yeah, it's a painful lesson. But the thing is, it just never occurred to you that somebody would do something like that. You know?
Yeah.
So now you learn to keep your cards close to your chest. I mean, it's not necessary to keep, you have an idea if you can tell everybody as if, make you feel smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You do it, you're going to learn a lesson. Maybe not today, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that one is a tricky one because you are right. People do have reason to be guarded about talking about what is your business idea about your business period. We have to be mindful. But then we also know that it is important because you said it earlier on in the conversation that you also need to talk about it. You need to a part of it, a part of getting knowledge is by being willing to share, willing to talk.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you don't know where that source of information that's going to be so critical to you is going to come from. So you have to have discernment, as you said, in when I'm having this conversation, is this with someone who has any value at all to add? And sometimes you may not see it, obviously, but you have to think and also think, where are you coming from when you're speaking about it? Is it that you're just talking because you're gushing and not necessarily moderating your utterance? Or is it that you are genuinely stimulating a conversation to get some kind of feedback from the person? Because it's different.
I find that sometimes a lot of people do it because they want to appear smart. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
like you
idea,
said. Or to impress people, to form an impression. Make an impression.
Yeah.
Somebody here is asking, is a storefront better than an online store?
Well, it depends. In Jamaica, one of the challenges with the storefront is that the storefront requires you to spend a lot of money on rent, and you need location, and it must be somewhere where it's highly visible, right? While online, you could be operating from the back of your house. I had a cousin that started an auto parts business. He and 3 of his friends opened his garage, and the business stayed in the garage. These guys were like about 20, 21, right? They were living in the States. And what they did was just made contacts with people, with wholesalers.
Mm-hmm.
They would advertise these parts, and then anybody who wanted to purchase the parts would send the money to their website, and they in turn pay the difference to the supplier. And the supplier would send the part straight from them, straight to the customer. Easy thing. All they have to do is promote the website. But the thing is that it doesn't work for every type of business. Some people are just not when they want a certain type of business online. They want to look at your face.
Yeah. And to just add to that, that's the model that Amazon has made its wealth and its success on. That's the base of Amazon basically. There are thousands of garages stocked with goods that Amazon sells from,
Yeah.
as in the people behind it that you're buying from. They're at home, and Amazon is their storefront. But you are right in saying that it depends on the type of business that you're doing. And in today's world, especially today, like in the era of this physical distancing and people really being careful about going out, you may want to look at having both. It's not no, it's probably not an option of having just one, but you may have to have, even if it's not an online store, but you have to have some kind of online virtual presence, not in terms of a website that is passive, but some active way in which you are interacting with the clients as if they were in a physical situation with you, meaning you're doing the business, you're doing the full process of the business online as well as maybe from a physical location. I hope that helps and answers the question for your frame it, J. I can take maybe one more question before we go, if there's anybody who wants to throw it in there. Throw a question in there before we wrap up. Going once, going twice. Kirk, I'm going to give you the opportunity to just make a final statement to our audience, to those who maybe online now or who will view us later on from our recorded, from the recording. Is there anything that you would like to leave with them in terms of a word?
All right. I thought about it last night. I say if somebody was to have told me at 20, what advice would they give me that I would treasure to this day? And I think that the point I made about the uniform, the point about using the checkbook. Using the checkbook is super important, especially for startups. You know, you don't. I think it's the point the gentleman made earlier about the online thing. If you look, you notice a lot of companies right now, especially Gleaner. If you check the Gleaner Automotive section on a Sunday, you'll be surprised what it was a year ago versus now. You know? Most people are advertising online, you know. So you do a lot of businesses that are picking up online. But for me, I find that I'm not sure how mature the Jamaican market is to the whole idea of online. There are certain businesses that still prefer to come and see you face to face.
Well, COVID changed that. COVID is definitely changing that now. I heard on the news, I think it was yesterday, that the demand for, or the sign-ups for new accounts in the bank for debit cards have increased because people are now transitioning. So there are a lot of people who were resistant to doing it before, but the circumstances now that are affecting the globe now, all of us in the world, are forcing those persons who were reluctant before to do business online to go there. So you're right. It is a space that we have to look at. And you mentioned the whole checkbook point. I'm glad you reiterated because somebody just asked a question about GCT again, how you go about sorting it out and what are the benefits of paying it. And that might require a whole another session, Daniel, to answer. But what Kirk had said earlier about the record keeping for any one of the taxes, it's critical to keep accurate records, complete and accurate, because it can be accurate if you only say one receipt from one thing, that from one out of the 20 or 100 transactions that you've done. But they have to be complete because that is what serves as the evidence for the filing that you're going to do, and also in the event that you may get audited, that is what is going to be the checking point for the auditors to look at and see that what you are claiming is so. You have to have evidence. And the benefits, I mean, in our country, the general consumption tax is a sales tax. I don't have offhand what is the which pool of funds it goes directly into, as in how it is used by the government, but I know it helps, our tax dollars help to provide services to the general public. And whether or not we like it, we definitely all benefit to it. It is a part of our social responsibility to contribute to this as it develops our society. You were saying that you have a business account with Sagicor, which bank? Oh, that's one question. We can't answer that, Daniel. We have to talk that one off for the ear. Yes. Okay, but that bank that you mentioned, they usually are good for small businesses. So I don't know. You need to probably go back to them because I know quite a few people people who sell things from the cars who have even the swipe machine, the ability to swipe from it. Daniel is talking to me in the chat, Kirk. So I just answered him. All right, so we are just we're at like 13:106. And so we just want to take this moment to thank you, Kirk Crichton, for having shared with us your entrepreneurial journey. And we want to thank you who have joined us during your lunchtime break. I hope you were eating while you were listening. And for those who shared in terms of adding to the conversation with your questions and your comments, thank you so much for staying with us this week. And I'm inviting you to tell your friends, tell those persons who you think may benefit from viewing this episode of the Entrepreneur's Journey. You can find the recordings of it on YouTube, our YouTube channel, the Jamaica Business Development Corporation's YouTube channel. And you also find other programs that we've been offering for the past, 2.5 months. I think we have over a dozen, more than that, recordings that we have done with trainings, webinars, etc. that you can go back to and peruse. Thank you. See you again when we have our next feature of the entrepreneur's journey right here in the new space. We're not necessarily face to face, but we're definitely not out of touch. And we thank you for staying in touch with us. And we thank you so much again, Kirk, for giving us your time, gifting us with your time, and giving us with your experience and your nuggets of wisdom. And do enjoy the rest of your day and the weekend that is coming up. Well, good and take care, everyone. All right.